that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today is extreme ownership and owning our own roles in our life. And I'm curious if you've ever experienced that and how you view that, because I think it's really exciting, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I want to hear your thoughts on it.
If you take ownership of all these things, it's very hard to fail.
Owning what you can own, right? It's basically saying,
Many clients do this and get many amazing results. Whatever you commit to and stay consistent with, you will.
all right, welcome to the Law Firm Growth Acceleration Podcast. Today we're going to talk about responsibility. One of my favorite things, personal extreme ownership responsibility. And it's funny because I had to kind of look at myself in the mirror this morning and take a little bit of extreme ownership for myself. So tell me if you've ever done this before. And this reminded me of our clients also that we work with, because I think one of the things that really makes us different than most marketing agencies is that we don't pretend that we can work miracles, right? It's like anyone who's trying to grow a business, it's hard. There's work that has to be involved, right? So I'll tell you where I'm going with this, right? So basically, I've been on this fitness journey for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've had a couple different trainers, and I have a trainer that I've been working with since July. And he's actually a virtual trainer. I use this app called Future, which is actually really cool. And when we started in July, he was like, we talked about what are your goals. So he put together a plan for me. He put together a meal plan for me. He gives me exercises every week, lifting and cardio and all that type of stuff. But this week, I just wasn't feeling very excited about my progress. I've actually, objectively, I have made progress. I've lost 9 pounds of fat. I'm able to lift things that I wasn't able to lift before. But I actually found myself shopping around for another trainer. And I was actually this close to signing up for a guy, and it was gonna be $10,000 up front, to sign up with this guy. But I started thinking about it, and actually, really, my wife was the one that kind of looked at this. She's like, well, before you spend $10,000, have you actually, first of all, done every single thing, like every little thing this guy's told you to do, every little thing this guy's asked you to do? And have you communicated with him that you're not extremely happy with the progress, or things just aren't going the way that you want them to go? And I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, well, you know what? I've done most of it. I've done like 80% maybe, but I haven't done 100% of what he said. And on top of that, I also have not exactly communicated that I'm not entirely happy right now. So the book Extreme Ownership, as we say, says that everything that happens to you, and then if you haven't read Extreme Ownership, by the way, if you're listening, it's like mandatory reading. It's by Jocko Willink. It's an amazing book. But I had to kind of take a long, hard look at myself and say, have I actually done every single thing? And what part do I play? What part am I playing in not getting the results that I'm looking for? And it's a very humbling thing, because we never actually want to, we never want to see ourselves in a bad light. And we always want to think that we're perfect and all that type of stuff. But it was actually really exciting, because I like finding stuff like that, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, that actually means that there is more that I could do. And it kind of reminds me of just like, with our business, with our clients' businesses. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today is extreme ownership and owning our own roles in our life. And I'm curious if you've ever experienced that too, where you kind of took a step back and you thought, well, you know what, maybe I played a role in not being successful at something, and how you view that. Cause I think it's really exciting, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I think that it's the best default perspective in life, right? One of my mentors once told me that once you become an entrepreneur, you sell your right to ever be frustrated ever again at anything, right? Because you create your own reality when you become an entrepreneur. So for you to be frustrated or angry about anything, is really you just getting mad at yourself that either you hired the wrong person, or you tolerated an environment where you didn't get what you wanted, but you didn't do anything to change it. So therefore you're frustrated, right? And the only job where I think you're not, it's, you're not allowed to be a victim is entrepreneurship, because you create your entire reality in every facet of your life and business. The amount of income you make is completely up to you. The people that you work with is completely up to you. The people that you part ways with is completely up to you. The standards you set is completely up to you. What you tolerate is completely up to you. So if anything happens in life, in business, if I get into a car accident, right, whose fault is that? Well, it could be completely the other person's fault, right? It could be they ran a red light while I was there and they hit my car. But you really have two choices in any situation is, am I going to be a victim, or am I going to take complete ownership of this situation and think about what I did to contribute to this, right? Like, why was I driving? Oh, well, I was driving a little faster than I needed to because I left my house late to get to the office, right? So I hit this light a little earlier than I otherwise, or a little later than I otherwise would have if I just left a little bit earlier, right? And there would have never been an accident had I just left a little earlier, right? So was it my fault? No, it wasn't my fault, but it is my responsibility. And I think health is like such a great, I love that you use that example, because you and I, when we speak, we always, we tie some of our lessons to health, right? So does Tony Robbins, where he says stuff like, the art of getting in shape is not really an art, it's a science, right? It's, you got to eat less and you got to move more, right? And now there's 50,000 different methodologies to eat less and move more. But at the end of the day, the person who gets in shape is the person who took the most personal responsibility over getting in shape, right? It's not the nutrition plan. There's people who've gotten in the best shape of their life by eating literally just sugar, but just not overeating, and just they're in a calorie deficit, and they end up losing weight and getting in the best shape of their life. And every doctor would say, "Oh, it's terrible," and da 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 da. But if you eat less than you burn, you're going to lose weight regardless of the strategy. And, that's why I think health is such a great example to use for this. But it's very similar to business.
Yeah, I love finding things too. I love finding the things that, because you can always do more. Like there's always a scenario you can always, it's like, I love when people say I tried everything and it didn't work. Like, well, no, it's not true. Because if you literally tried everything, something would have worked, right? Maybe you feel like you tried everything. But I heard this quote recently, and it was "Power follows the blame finger," right? And it's such a good quote, because it's whoever you point your finger at and blame, they're the ones that have all the power. So if you blame the government for your life being the way it is, well, now the government has all the power, right? If you blame, rich people, for example, maybe rich people are the reason that I can't get ahead. Well, now rich people have all the power. Or if you blame yourself, then now all of a sudden you have all the power and you have all the power to change it, And I love finding stuff like this, because when I really started thinking about, because I was going to hire this new trainer, and Chelsea kind of talked me off the ledge, and she's like, "Well, have you actually articulated to your current guy that maybe you're not exactly happy with where we're going right now?" And I'm like, I haven't really articulated. I mean, like, and actually, I've actually kind of done the opposite, because I have been making progress. Like I've been, doing more pull-ups than I've ever done before. I am losing weight, but it's not the right progress, right? So it's like when I look at it, I'm like, have I actually done everything? And then on top of that, have I been as squeaky clean with my diet as I should have been? And when you think about it, I've been doing it since July, but I mean, just for our work, for what we do, we travel quite a bit. I mean, we traveled probably since July. I think we've traveled probably, I don't know, 10 trips between client workshops and conferences and boot camps. And we don't eat perfect on those trips. I'm not sitting there. Like, we're not going out to dinner and I'm rolling up with my container of rice and chicken. No, I'm ordering from the menu, so there's all kinds of stuff that I could do. And I could basically say, well, the problem is the trainer. The problem is the trainer isn't right for me. But the truth is that until I've done every little single thing that he has said for me to do, and I followed his plan to a T, And I've also articulated that his plan might not be going the right direction. It's like if you're in an Uber and you know you're supposed to be heading east and the Uber driver starts driving west and you know that you're supposed to go there, you're going the wrong, he's going the wrong way. At some point, it's your responsibility to be like, hey, dude, we're going the wrong way. We got to go over here, you know?
And I think if you look at like what most lawyers do, marketing is like, you can learn so much from how business owners buy from marketing services providers. Like if you think about it, if my business isn't going to plan, right? What's the first thing most lawyers do, right? They go and pick a new marketing company, right? And it's this feeling of newness. It's this feeling of, well, the reason I haven't been successful is because the vendor, right? It's the vendor. That's why, you know? And, you know, what I used to say back in the day when I first started doing webinars was, it's kind of like that person who's been in like 15 relationships. Maybe they went through a really bad divorce.
Yeah.
And then they go through
the person that hates drama, yet drama's always in their life.
Yeah. They're like, well, I met this guy at the bar and, you know, he's just not the one for me, you know? And then that happens 15 times in a row. And he, you know, he's just not up to my standard. And in the process of doing that, they're pointing the finger at person number one, person number two, person number three. Who's the real problem when you get to the 15th person, right? It's the person pointing the finger, right? So, you know, the same thing happens with marketing vendors. It's like, you know, they're all scams. They're all this. To me, I don't think you or I have ever been ripped off from a marketing vendor. And we've used a lot, right? And that's because we know a lot about marketing. So it's almost impossible for us to ever get ripped off in anything marketing related because we're so committed to marketing our business. We know marketing is essential. And if things don't go right in marketing, we know it's a strategy and we just change the strategy. We don't go label the entire lifeblood of you know, our business and just label it as a scam or as a ripoff, right? Which is literally what, you know, I'd argue that 90% of the entire legal industry just labels marketing as a ripoff. But that's more of a reflection of the owner's incompetence in marketing. And that just creates, you know, the agency jumping syndrome, which is a new disorder according to the National Disorder Inventory. Agency jumping syndrome, AJS, is infecting the legal industry more rapidly than COVID infected the entire humanity. And it's just this, I'm not getting results for my business, swap vendors, swap vendors, swap vendors. And it's a shame. And then you also said something that you know, I was reflecting on. You said, could you ever really try everything? Because people say, oh, I've tried everything and it doesn't work, right? Well, I would actually be very scared of someone who tried everything because that would mean that you never really went all in on one thing, right? So do you fear the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times and became so good at one kick? Or do you fear the person who practiced 10,000 different kicks once, meaning they dabbled 10,000 times, right? I'm going to fear the person, even if it's not the best kick in the world, I'm going to fear the person that did the same kick 10,000 times because they've mastered something. Like, this to me is what I call platform commitment in marketing. Like, if let's say you made a commitment to the platform of TikTok, right? And we've had many clients do this and get many amazing results. No, whatever you commit to and stay consistent with, you will find a way to make it work for your business. If you just committed to TikTok, I don't care if you're a business lawyer or you think, oh, my high-end business clients aren't on TikTok. Don't care. If you commit to a platform, that's like practicing that one kick 10,000 times. You will find a way to make that platform work for you. If you commit to Google Ads, no matter what your niche is, you will find a way to make that niche. If you commit to SEO and go all in on SEO, you'll find a way to make that work for you. And most people are non-committal when it comes to their marketing.
It's interesting, you know, so I've never done martial arts before, but I had a trainer for a while who was like national champion at jiu-jitsu, right? He didn't teach me jiu-jitsu. We just did like weight training and stuff like that. But actually you worked out with him one time when we first partnered. But he was explaining to me how a lot of martial arts is really using the opponent's momentum and basically letting them expel all the energy and then kind of taking the momentum, right? So I kind of look at success as not trying to fight human nature. And I think that human nature is actually one of the best things that you can use, because like you said, it's commitment and consistency. Well, it's human nature to quit very quickly after trying one or two things and not be consistent at all, right? So if you can just not quit, usually you're going to be pretty good, especially with marketing and stuff like that. And if you just keep working at it a little bit and keep trying to get 1% better every single day. I love when I find like these massive problems with our marketing. And it's funny because one side it's like, it's frustrating, like, why didn't we fix this before? But then I look at it, it's like, oh, awesome, this is something that we can fix that right away I know is going to make a 1% improvement, or is that's gonna get us, that's gonna fix this thing that we've been dealing with, right? And there's always something like that. Like, I've been doing this for 13 years now, right? I have never, every time that I go through a marketing campaign, especially if a marketing campaign is not working the way that it should be working, I have never gone through and looked at every little piece of that, start to finish, and been like, no, this is absolutely perfect. There's nothing I could change. There's nothing that we could have done better. There's nothing, this is clearly Facebook's fault. Facebook ads don't work. That's what it comes down to at this point, right? No, there's always something that we've screwed up. Oh, the email sequence wasn't working, or the subject line that's a terrible subject line. Yeah, obviously people aren't opening the emails, or like, we look at like the button doesn't have the right text on it. It doesn't go to the right page, or we look at like there's always something you can do that you have control over.
I just got a thought when you were saying that. Think about this. When most law firms come to us, how unique is the positioning of their law firm? Like, how many firms sincerely have you heard of that actually do something unique that's marketable?
Wait a second. Hold on a second. I heard a client do something really, they fight for they fight for victims. Have you heard that before? That's a new one. I've never heard that before.
I wonder why my marketing keeps not working,
Yeah, it's weird. They fight for the accused. It's genius. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah,
smart. So smart.
Wait. We have 35 years of combined experience.
Oh, Harvard? You went to Harvard? Is that what you said? Harvard?
Yeah. So it's like, if it continues to not, like, why has a lot of our marketing work? Well, because we have a unique offering. I mean, we're the only people offering what we're offering. And like, you got to look in the mirror with that. You got to look in the mirror. Like, how many 5-star reviews do you have on your Google business profile? Like, if I go and inspect your law firm, am I going to clearly walk away and go, whoa, I have to hire this firm, right? Are you going to have client testimonials on your website? Are you going to have a decked out Glassdoor profile, which people look at, by the way? Even prospective clients look at your Glassdoor profile. They want to know they're working for a company that people are happy working for. So like, if you take ownership of all these things, it's very hard to fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And always, it's funny because I always talk about the concept of the aggregation of marginal gains, which is where you don't try to just make one sweeping improvement. You try to improve one thing by 1% every single day. And if you always do that, like, it's such an easy thing just to go and like make one tweak to one thing every single day, but it compounds and it gets better and better and better. And it really does make a big difference. But it's having that, I think at the end of the day, it's owning what you can own. Right. It's basically saying, okay, maybe I have a marketing company that's doing X, Y, and Z. Right. But what can I take responsibility for? What can I do as well? So, for example, maybe it's a situation they're not driving as many leads as you would like. Okay. But I can work every single one of those leads that comes in and make sure that I'm squeezing every bit of water out of this rock so that I can make the most out of this. I always look at it. I always tell clients, every single lead that comes in that contacts you, especially through advertising, whether they hire you or not, you paid for it, right? And like, I always look at it when we go out to dinner with my kids, and my son is like, I want chicken nuggets, and I want French fries, and I want a fruit cup, and I want a muffin or whatever. And I'm like, you're not going to eat all that. He's like, no, I'm going to eat all of it. And he orders it, and then he doesn't want to eat the fruit cup. I'm like, listen, we paid for the fruit cup. You're eating the fruit cup. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, listen, you paid for the lead. Do something with the lead. Even if you need to add on a different like figure out like how to refer them to a different type of law firm, you know, like ask them more questions. You know, you weren't injured in the car accident. But let me ask you a question. If you were injured, what would happen to, you know, what, like, God forbid something happens to you, what would happen to your house? What would happen to your business? What would happen to your bank accounts? Do you know where all of that would go? Or would it just kind of be up to the government? Be up to the government? Oh, okay. Well, you don't have an estate plan. You should probably talk to this attorney. You really need to get an estate plan. You really need to get at least a will, and then refer it out for $50 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways that you can make things work, even outside the norm, if you just kind of put a little bit of thought into it.
Yep. So take ownership. That's the takeaway today. We'll see everyone on the next episode, and remember to never point the finger at anything, even if you get hit by a tractor trailer and your head falls off and
yourself, why was I standing in the road?
Yeah.
Why was I standing in the middle of I-4?
Yeah, if your head rolls off your head, okay, and you have one last sentence to say, it just, you know, rolls to the side and you just go, "It was my fault," and then you just died.
That's what it'll say on your tombstone. It was my Bill Hauser. It was his fault. All right, see you later.
All right, see ya.
If you found value in this podcast, here's one way I can help your firm right now. What if you could take all of our knowledge and experience helping law firms grow and use it to create a custom growth plan for your firm? I want to give you something special. I want to give you a free law firm 360-degree analysis. We usually charge $499 for this call, but you'll get it for free since you're committed to growth. Our team will walk you through the 4 steps of the law firm growth acceleration model and give you opportunities and fixes to grow your firm faster based on what we've learned across hundreds and hundreds of the fastest growing law firms in North America. Go to smbteam.com/360 to get your free analysis today.